Question: explain why the actuarial control cycle is essential for effective risk management, but insufficient if applied mechanically. Your answer must integrate professionalism, model risk, stakeholder conflict, and the external business environment. 10 marks. Section 1. Interpretation and key points. Quick awareness check. The framework versus the mindset, the cycle, is a map, but professionalism is the compass. A map is useless if the driver isn't paying attention to the road. The feedback loop. Essential for catching errors, but if the monitoring data is stale, the loop just repeats the same mistakes. The checklist trap. Mechanical application leads to compliance but not risk insight. External forces, pestle factors, change the rules of the game faster than a mechanical process can adapt. Section 2. Logic breakdown. 1. The necessity of the cycle. Start by validating why we use it. It moves risk management from a guess to a process. By defining the problem specification, developing the solution, and monitoring, we ensure that we don't just set and forget our strategies. 2. Model risk, the mechanical failure. Explain that a model is a simplification. If an actuary applies the cycle mechanically, they might accept a model's output simply because the process was followed. This ignores the risk that the model's assumptions, e.g., correlations or volatility, are fundamentally wrong for the current environment. 3. The role of professionalism. Professionalism is the outer ring of the cycle. It requires professional judgment to know when to break the cycle or question the data. Without it, the cycle becomes a tick-box exercise that can provide false reassurance to the board. 4. Stakeholder conflict. Different stakeholders, shareholders versus regulators versus customers, have different goals. A mechanical cycle might optimize for profit, but professionalism ensures we also optimize for fairness and solvency. 5. External environment. Pestle factors, political, economic, etc., shift the context. If the external environment changes, e.g., a sudden interest rate spike, a mechanical cycle that only looks at historical data in the monitoring phase will fail to see the new normal. Section 3. High distinction model answer. The actuarial control cycle is foundational to risk management because it transforms isolated financial calculations into a dynamic, iterative process. By forcing a continuous loop of problem specification, solution development, and monitoring, it ensures that a firm's risk profile is constantly re-evaluated against emerging experience. This systematic approach is essential for identifying drift, where actual claims or market movements begin to deviate from initial assumptions, allowing for early intervention before solvency is threatened. However, a mechanical application of the cycle is fundamentally insufficient because it ignores the qualitative nuances of model risk and professionalism. A model is merely a mathematical approximation. If an actuary follows the cycle's steps without applying professional skepticism, they may fail to realize that the solution is based on assumptions that no longer hold. For example, if the monitoring phase reveals stability simply because a lagging indicator was used, a mechanical approach would suggest no change needed, whereas a professional approach would recognize the silent accumulation of risk. Furthermore, the cycle does not operate in a vacuum. It is heavily influenced by the external business environment and stakeholder conflict. Mechanical application often prioritizes optimizing a single metric, such as short-term profit, to satisfy shareholders. However, the supporting elements of the cycle, specifically professional responsibility, mandate that the actuary must balance this against the needs of other stakeholders, such as policyholders who require long-term benefit security. This requires the actuary to navigate competing interests using judgment that a mechanical framework cannot provide. Ultimately, the actuarial control cycle is a tool, not a substitute for expertise. Its effectiveness depends on the actuary's ability to interpret the monitoring feedback within the context of a shifting pestle landscape. Without the human element of professionalism to challenge the model's boundaries and communicate uncertainty to the board, the cycle can become a dangerous source of false reassurance, masking systemic failures under the guise of procedural compliance.